All right, today we're looking at the battle ropes. We're going to be looking at the 4 fundamental up and down whip movements. We have little whips, more about conditioning, not very much power involved. We've got halfway between the two, which is just alternating waves, halfway between conditioning and power. We've got your big single whip cracks, which is all about the power, and we've got big double slam variation as well. First thing is first, you need to get my positioning right with the ropes. If I am too far back, the movement is all going to be coming from the shoulder, which I want to avoid. For the same reason that I'm not doing any side or spiraling movements at the moment. They're not necessarily bad, you're not necessarily going to get injured, but the likelihood of getting shoulder injuries goes up with any spiraling movements to the shoulder, especially if you're at the lower end of shoulder stability or you've had previous incidences with them. So that's why we're sticking to straight up and down. I'm going to sit into quite a wide squat position, so I've got my knees on the outside of where my elbows are going to be, so whichever movement I'm going to be doing, my hands are always in the middle of my knees, whichever movement I do. That just means I've got a good solid foundation. There should be no waggling of my bum or waving of my shoulders as I do anything here. So I'm going to do the little whips first, which are very, very fast. The waves aren't going to be very high, but there's going to be a lot of them. So everything is coming through the elbow. The waves are going pretty much all the way to the anchor point, but they're not very high. There's a lot of them, but not very powerful whatsoever. So that is more about conditioning than anything. Make sure you're holding the ropes properly. Don't hold them like this. Some people do for unknown reasons. Keep your chest up, stick your bum out, and keep everything as stable as possible. So there should be no bum waggling as you're going. Keep everything straight. Hands are in the middle, and all the movement is from the elbow, not from the shoulder. When we start to get tired, you'll see this kind of stuff happening. Oh my God. Leaning back, using that big train movement, swimming backwards with the shoulder to get that power going, instead of just resting and going a little bit slower. So even if you have to bring the speed down, that is still better, even though the waves aren't going as far, than trying to keep it fast, but technique going all over everywhere. If I want to make it a bit more about power, half and half, I'm going to do alternating waves. So one hand is high, one hand is low. I'm just going to cascade, one up, one down. So it should make pretty much a figure of 8 going down. Ropes getting up to about my chin height-ish. The movement, the power I'm trying to generate there is on the upwards pull. I don't put any effort into pulling it down again. I'm just focusing on lift up, lift up, lift up, lift up over and over again. So one hand high, one hand low. They should swap in the middle. And I'm just focusing on pulling the ropes up there. So that's halfway between conditioning and power. If what I do all about the power, I'm going to do a single hand whip crack first off. So that comes right the way up overhead, up onto my tiptoes. So I'm going to get triple extension. So ankle, knees, hips. And then when it gets to the very top, I'm going to smash it down to the floor as hard as I can. So up overhead, big whip crack, reset, reset. I'm not lingering at the top of the movement. We do see quite often from there that you're going to get more power by building up from the top a little bit longer. As soon as it hits its peak, straight back down to the floor again. So up, back down from there. So you're getting right to the peak and then driving to the bottom from there. Make sure when we do any slam movement, single or double hand, our chest stays up. So I'm not getting the power from there by dragging my torso down to keep my chest up. Everything comes from the arm and the weight driving down. Next up, we've got the double-handed slam. Again, start in the same position. Both hands overhead. Slam down. Reset after each rep, because this is about power. If I did it too fast with no reset, it would just turn into another conditioning drill, and it would look horrific. And your shoulders would not thank you very much for it. So reset after each rep. Use your legs to get that power. You can jump into it if you want to get a little bit more power going. That's fine. Make sure you keep your chest up. On the smaller movements with the whips, it's from your elbow joint, not your shoulder. On the slams, it's more from the shoulder, not as much from the elbow. Again, make sure we're not waggling our hips everywhere, and we're not gritting our teeth and trying to get out some extra reps of it. Keep your chest up, keep your technique spot on, especially because this is so taxing on the shoulders. That's the battle ropes. I'm knackered. I'll see you next time.